Wonderful morning to all present here. My name is Joshua Glaxon. I am from grade 9 and I am here to perform a seminar on the human digestive system. So the human digestive system starts from our mouth and ends up at the anus and the waste is being excreted out of the anus. So there's a lot of organs involved in this process. So we are going to dive into this and study a deep analysis of the human digestive system. So all of this starts from the mouth. So we eat food through the mouth and our teeth grind the food to make it smaller and we swallow the food. In this process there is saliva is being involved in this process. So what is the use of saliva, right? Saliva lubricates the food so that it's easier to go into the food pipe. That is the main function of saliva. So we might cough sometime, right? While eating and speaking simultaneously, we might cough sometime. So this is because when we eat food and we talk, the food pipe and the windpipe open simultaneously. So when this happens, the food particles which is mixed with saliva is called the bolus. The food particle which is mixed with saliva is called bolus. So when the bolus enters our throat and goes into the food pipe, when we are talking while eating, what happens is that both the windpipe and the food pipe open simultaneously. And the bolus, instead of going to the food pipe, goes into the windpipe. So when this happens, we cough to get the bolus out. So we can prevent this. To prevent this happening all the time, there's a small organ called the epiglottis. There's a small organ called the epiglottis. It has a flap-like structure. So what it does is it covers the windpipe. So when the food enters the throat, the epiglottis covers the windpipe so that the bolus doesn't go inside the windpipe and goes straight to the food pipe. Now we shall go to the next topic, which is the food pipe. So the food pipe also acts a major thing. It's like a passageway to the stomach. For that, in the food pipe, there's a movement called peristaltic movement happening there. So it is a series of contraction and relaxation in the food pipe. So we see that when food enters the food pipe, the above part contracts so that the food can go down and the below part releases. So what happens is that the food goes down. It doesn't come back up, right? So yeah, it goes down to the stomach. Our next organ is the stomach. The stomach, a lot of people have a misconception with stomach. So the stomach doesn't digest your food fully. It is a storage container. It's like a bag. It can hold, an adult stomach can hold up to 2 to 3 liters of food items. Right? It is a container. It does partial digestion up to 20%. It does 20% of partial digestion. It doesn't digest the food fully, right? And it takes up to 3 hours for it to transfer it to the intestines. So we have learned that the stomach partially digests the food. It secretes enzymes. It secretes certain enzymes in its inner lining. The stomach secretes certain enzymes in its inner lining. It partially digests the food, and the food particles get churned up by the stomach to form a particle like a pulp-like form called the chyme. It's like a pulp-like form. We cannot identify what's inside, but it's called the chyme because it's 20% digested. It has digested at 20%. It's called partially digested food. So what happens now is we go to important organs of the digestive system. There are 2 important organs of the digestive system. These are the most important things. We have the small intestine, and after that we have the large intestine. So let's see about what happens inside the small intestine. So we do know that the small intestine is large. It's almost like 7 meters long and 2.5 centimeter wide. It is very long. I mean, my height is about 5.9 inches. I mean 5.9 feet. I don't know my correct height. But the problem is that this is 7 meters. How is it going to fit inside my short body? It's not possible, right? So what has happened is the small intestine is curled and contracted together to fit inside fit below my belly, right? We can't fit a 7 meter long tube inside a body. For that is why it's like compressed inside a body. So main functions of this small intestine is being divided into 3 parts: the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. So the duodenum is a part where the small intestine connects with the stomach. So what happens here is the stomach sends small quantity of food one by one into the small intestine. Now many of you may ask, why does it happen? It's just simple. My biology teacher explained it very clearly. I would like to say it to you. So there's a mixie grinder. You have a mixie grinder and there's coconut. So you just put the whole coconut and dump it into the mixie grinder and start the switch. It won't grind very perfectly. It won't grind very perfectly. There are going to be large chunks of coconut left behind. So instead of just dumping everything into it, just take small pieces of coconut and put it inside and turn on the switch. It's going to be a smooth paste. you're going to have a smooth and nice well done chutney, right? The same thing, what happens here is, by giving the small amount of food particles into the intestine, what happens is the intestine can break down the food particles and absorb the nutrients it can absorb it very nicely. So in the small intestine there are tiny hair-like projections called the villi. What happens is these villi secrete certain enzymes to break down the food particles inside the small intestine. But it also absorbs the nutrients or everything present in the food particle and sends the waste. So we shall go to the jejunum. The jejunum it's just an empty place. It's just a passway. Like we have learned about the esophagus, which is the food pipe. Food pipe is just a passway towards the stomach. The same way, the jejunum is a passway to the ileum. So we shall go for the third part, which is the ileum. So what happens here is this part connects. It connects from the small intestine to the large intestine. So this most of the digestion process takes place here. So what happens? It transfers all the food particles, the used up food particles, the broken down useless food particles to the large intestine. So what's happened? We shall do a quick repack on what's happening in the small intestine. First, the food comes from the stomach in minute quantities, and it digests the food and absorbs everything inside. It secretes certain enzymes, the pancreatic juice and the bile juice. It secretes these two juices to break down all the food particles being sent inside. Now it has done most of digestion, almost more than 90% of digestion is being done here. Only the undigested useless food is being sent to the large intestine. So we have completed the small intestine and we shall be going into the large intestine. So the large intestine is again divided into three parts. The first one is the caseum, which is just like the small intestine. It connects the small intestine and the large intestine. And we have the colon. The colon is where all the food gets stored up. It's more wide, and the large intestine is about 1.5 meter. So it's not so long compared to the 7 meter length of the small intestine. So it's not so long. It's about 1.5 meter. So what's happening is in the colon, it gets all the waste material is being stored up, and from colon it goes to the rectum. So the rectum is the final part before it goes outside. So from the rectum, it goes to the anus. From the anus, all the waste materials is being transported out of the body. So this is a step for complete digestion. So this is a step for complete digestion, right? So we start from the mouth, we chew the food, we swallow the food, we swallow it through the food pipe due to peristaltic movement. It goes to the stomach, and the stomach we do partial digestion, about 20%, right? And we churn, the stomach churns the food to make it into like a pulp-like form, like chyme. It's called chyme. It's called a pulp-like form. It's called chyme, and from there. The food particles in the stomach stays up for 3 hours, right? So what happens next one? It sends the food particles in minute quantity into the small intestine. The small intestine does complete digestion. It absorbs all the nutrients and sends all the waste material, the left out materials, into the large intestine. So the process of large intestine is just to take all the waste materials and shove it outside of the body. So that's what is happening right here. So the large intestine moves it through the caseum. The caseum is the part where the ileum and the large intestine connects, and the colon where all the food is stored, all the waste material is stored up, and the rectum which transports all the things to the anus, and anus releases it out of the body. And I hope that you all understood what I have told.